Welcome back. Depression, it's one of those nasty things that can come from anywhere. A loss of a job, a loss of a family member, COVID, and not knowing where things are going to come from. Some of us are a little bit more anxious about things than others, and the depression can set in some very nasty ways. I had a really bad bout of depression probably about 20 years ago, and it wasn't from any reason in particular. It was a whole bunch of different things. I had my own business at the time with my father doing metal fabrication. In fact, I think my father had already retired and I was actually running the business on my own, but all the pressure was on my shoulders. As much as I had my wife in the business doing the accounts and stuff like that, it was all on my shoulders. I had about 10 people working for me, and every week they had to take a wage home, so it sort of builds up a little bit. Plus work was quiet and it was all whole bunch of things at home, nobody seemed to be listening and my kids weren't paying attention and all that. And can I just say that we all tend to think that it's everyone else, but it's all you, it's all me, I should say. So what was happening in my life is that I was hoping that somebody was going to come and sort of give me a hug and save me, but it doesn't always happen that way. I got to a point where everything was just wrong and I was just bottling up inside, and I didn't know who to reach out to, who to talk to. So eventually I decided to go for a drive to one of my favourite locations, the National Park south of Sydney. And the reason why I went there is purely to drive my car off the cliff, and I'm not afraid to say it. They were my intentions. I was going to sit there and build up some courage and drive the car right off the edge of the cliff, and nobody have to contend with me anymore. I drove out there. I'm a driver, I love driving, so I went for a drive in this beautiful national park. And when I got to the national park, I literally didn't have the courage, I didn't have the guts to sort of go ahead with it. So I had a notepad and I wrote a 3-page suicide note, if you want to call it. I'm not afraid to talk about it because it's in the past. I'm a different person today, but that note basically spelled out to everybody, whoever found that note, if anybody was going to find it, why I was doing this or why I did it. But I never had the courage. I never had the courage. So I sat there with the engine idling and with my foot on the accelerator, but nothing happened. As you can tell, I'm still here. But eventually I got a phone call from a very close friend that I hadn't heard for a long time, And he said, Henry, he seemed to know. It was just one of those things. I'm not a religious person, but it seemed to come from out there somewhere. And my friend knew there was something wrong. For some reason, he rang up. He wanted to see me that afternoon. Wherever I was, I needed to be in his house within the next 45 minutes. So I snapped out of it and I drove to his house. I was literally driving like a madman through the national park. And I used to race cars. I used to have a rally car. So I was driving extremely fast. But because I used to race cars, I had a pretty good control of cars, so I would go into a 30-kilometre corner at about 80 kilometres, and then I was doing my own version of drifting around those corners. First couple of corners, but the third corner I went in a bit too fast, and I literally slid across the road, and there was a car coming the other way, and I just missed the car. It was a family with a couple of kids in the back. It seemed to go in slow motion, but I saw the kids, and I just thought, you idiot. I'm going to kill somebody when it's no one else's fault, what's going on in my head. So that moment I literally took control of the situation. It's as if a second person stepped in and said, enough. And I drove to my friend's place and we sat there drinking coffee and just spilling the beans. Basically, we had a long chat. I felt a lot better, but I still knew there was a problem. I didn't know what the problem was, but I knew I needed to do something. But I'm a very firm believer that things happen for a reason. And that day, or very next day, something did happen. It was just incredible. I was reading the newspaper, which I don't do anymore, but I was flicking the pages through the newspaper, and on the bottom left-hand side of the newspaper, which is the part of the newspaper that nobody ever reads, there used to be a tiny little ad that was about that big that said, meditation for stress relief. And I just thought, you know what, that's me. It just happened to see it, and it's one of those things that from that day onwards I realized that there's no such thing as a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. And I just thought, you know what, I took the phone number down and I rang this number. I spoke to a person, I don't remember who it was, and I booked myself in to go to Prince of Wales Hospital at Randwick and the auditorium. And the auditorium is where they were going to talk to us about meditation. So the day came a few days later, and we went to the auditorium, and there's 80 people. The guy said, there's 80 people in this auditorium. And it was like an amphitheater. And I looked around and I thought, the first thing I noticed, I'm one of these people that I'm always looking around me. Where's the exit? How many people are there? Does anyone look suspicious? One of these people that is, I like to know what's around me. And I noted there was a lot of women in this room. The guy doing the talk obviously knew exactly how many people were there because he had the list. And he basically said, look, there's 80 people in this class and there's only 5 men. Because men don't suffer, because men don't suffer from stress. And we all laughed, and I burst out probably the loudest because I thought, yeah, right, that's a lot of BS. But 5 men, 75 women. So it really tells you that men just don't put their hand up and say, I got a problem. And it's one of the biggest things. It's one of the reasons why I set up this channel, because I'm here to reach out to you to make sure that you go and find somebody and say, listen, I need to talk to you. And if you don't have any friends, there's always someone. I know it's difficult, but I'm going to teach you how to get out of the situation or change your point of view, because it's all about what happens with your eyes and what all your sight, your sound, your hearing. You basically, everything that you take in is what causes the anxiety and the depression. So anyway, the guy talked to us about depression and how to beat it and meditation. So we had to sign a questionnaire, and we had something like 80 questions, and they were very brutal questions. Have you ever contemplated suicide? And I had no hesitation in ticking yes. So then a couple of days later, they split us up into 3 groups, 25, 26 in each group. And my group, we had to meditate in a class in the hospital in Sydney Hospital. We had to go into a class with some teachers, and they were going to teach us how to meditate. The meditation that I started doing is called Sahaja Yoga, S-A-H-A-J-A, Sahaja Yoga. And it's not really yoga, it's you do some movements and etc. And I will put some links below that will actually go to the main website of Sahaja. It's an Indian lady that started it, and it's a wonderful thing. Anyway, we'll get to that. But when the day came, I went to the class, and there were 3 guys standing in the front of the class, and I thought, oh, how strange, 3 teachers. These 3 men were professionals. One was a ophthalmologist, one was a dental surgeon, and another one was a CEO of a company. And I just couldn't understand. As I said to you earlier, I'm one of these people that always wants to know more. What are these guys doing here? Because the classes are free. And most people just think, anyway, the first lesson was basically all about what the benefits of meditation are, etc. So they spoke to us and all the different things that you could benefit, etc. But then we had one lady, one of these, we all have in a class, I'm not picking on ladies, but this happened to be a lady that asked a question. She said, how can it be any good if it's for free? And I just thought, sit down, you fool, it's... and the guy said, yeah, that's a good point. And they basically said, well, the 3 of us are professionals. We're earning 6 figures. So we don't really have to be here. But we're doing it because of the benefit of teaching you guys how to improve yourself. And there's something that, as you can see by now, I'm doing the same thing. I've got the benefit of doing it online. Hopefully I can reach a lot more people than these guys did. But these guys did a wonderful job. They instilled sort of a wellness, a mental calmness in my head, which is what I want to do to you in the next few minutes or whatever time we have. Anyway, they taught us how to do the simple acts of meditation. And one of the things they say is that you have to take it seriously. You can't, think, oh, it's not going to work. If you go into it with that mental sort of attitude, forget it. You might as well, I hate to say it, but jump off a bridge, because if you don't want to fix yourself, it's not going to work. So you've got to take it seriously. Do the instructions, follow the instructions to the letter. I took it one step further. I got myself some headphones and I got some music. I downloaded some music that was relevant to what I wanted, natural sounds like wind chimes and water flowing and wind, etc. And I did a meditation every day for 30 minutes. When I got home from work, I meditated. And I did this every week. Once a week, we'd go back to class after work and we'd talk to the teachers. So the first week, there was 26 people in my class. The second week, there was about 18. The third week, there was 15. The fourth week, there was 12. and then it continued on with 12 until the very last class. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I haven't told a lot of people, because a lot of people will just automatically go, you know, here we go. But something happened to me on my 5th week of meditating 30 minutes every day. I was sitting here in my house. At the time, my kids were much younger, probably in the early teens. And I was sitting down watching television. I had my 3 kids, my wife, dogs, etc., watching telly, and I had my headphones on, listening to my meditation music. And all of a sudden, I went, and I wasn't in my body anymore. And I had what they call an OBE, an out-of-body experience. Now, some people that I've told went, you know, they laugh and all that, but totally serious. I was on the ceiling looking down at myself. I could see my wife, my kids, everything. And that, excuse the French, scared the shit out of me. And I just thought, what the hell is this about? I snapped to attention. I literally woke up shuddering. And my wife said to me, what's wrong? And I said, you have no idea what I've just experienced. Anyway, she didn't know how to take it. But anyway, I realized something had happened. And as soon as that happened, I went straight to my computer and I started to Google everything. And I discovered that whichever way you want to take it, I'm talking to the serious people here. My soul, my spirit, whatever's inside you, had basically left my body to tell me that you are just a casing made of flesh. The spirit is who you are, and this is who you are. Literally, I was looking down at myself, like looking in a mirror. It was amazing. So that is what basically triggered all this awareness that I have now. Very next day, we had our final lesson, and I went into the class, and I waited till the very end of the lesson. I should have done it in the beginning, but anyway, at the end of the lesson, when everybody had left, I went and approached the 3 teachers, and I said to them, guys, I need to tell you something. This happened to me yesterday. And the 3 guys were looking at each other as if they'd seen a ghost. And they said, why didn't you tell everybody in front of the class? And I said, I was embarrassed. I thought I was losing it. He said, no, you've achieved something that is really unique. 1 person in a million or something like that can actually have an OBE, or out-of-body experience. So he said, what you should do, that is like a muscle. The more you use it, the more you improve. And so I continued doing meditation every day. There are lots of other techniques you can do, and you can do transcendental meditation, etc. I stuck to Sahaja because it worked for me, but it's the difference between finishing work and having 1,000 voices in your head. Tomorrow I've got to do this, I've got to make a phone call, I've got to do this meeting, I've got to, you know, buy these clothes, I've got to buy this food, I've got to this, to basically you meditate, and all of a sudden it's like putting your palm of your hand and you hear like nothing. So you switch all those voices off. And when you need to think of something, you switch it back on, you switch that thought on, and then you switch it off when you don't need it. So it's mental calmness, wellness. I'm also going to include a link below of a wonderful lady, which I can't recall the name right now, but I will have a link below. I might even have it appear here somewhere. And this lady did a wellness program. She meditated every day for a year, and it improved her life as well, her mental state, her physical state. Meditation is a wonderful thing. It dates back to thousands of years, and it's better than any drug, in my opinion. You can take lots of drugs to calm the brain. Meditation does that for you. So please take this seriously. If you have any questions, please put them below. I'd love to read all your questions and answer them if I can. And hopefully we're all here to work with each other. That was my story. I'd love to hear your story. And eventually I am going to interview some of my friends. As I said, my son's best friend, he was contemplating suicide. So I want to interview him and get a point of view from a younger person. And a couple of friends of mine, lady friends that have gone through different things as well. I'm going to interview other people. So I'm here to help all of you guys as well. We're all one big group. We're not black, we're not white, we're not yellow. We're the human race. There's no black race, white race, purple race. We're part of the human race. We're all one society. It's the politicians and those people living in their ivory towers that are trying to divide us by dividing and conquering. But we all got to stay together, unite, help each other, and we'll get through this. You just need to reach out and ask for help. So my next video, I'm going to talk about other ways you can improve, not just meditation, but other ways. It took me a long time to get to this point. As I said, during 5 months of lockdown, I decided I was going to do something. So this is my first attempt. and I will do other videos as well, so stay tuned guys. Henry, the Guiding Man, please give me a subscribe and a big thumbs up, and share it with all your friends, because I want this to go viral. I want everybody to read it and listen and learn and improve. Talk to me, ask me questions. I'm here for you. See you soon.